Hey, so do you dread being the center of attention? So all of a sudden, the eyes, they're all on you. You're trapped. You can't escape. Your anxiety might be exposed. People are gonna see your physical symptoms and you can't get out. And if this is something that you experience, stick around because in this video, I'm gonna help you understand why that is, why you dread being the center of attention and how to overcome this so you can love being the center of attention. You can crave being the center of attention and thrive when the spotlight's on you. So let's get into it now. And before we dive into it, just want to introduce myself. My name is Rubin. This is the work that I do. I'm a transformational coach specializing in social anxiety and self-esteem just for men. And if that's something that you resonate with and you're needing more support, come join a tribe of guys. Join our Facebook group. The link is below the video. If you want to connect with a group of guys who are also reaching for their fullest potential, but can also relate to what you're going through and support you along the way. Okay, and so this dread of being the center of attention, you dread it so much, even the thought of being the center of attention. You may not be on the spot yet, but you're sitting in the group. Even the thought that you might get put on the spot is enough to fill you with that dread on the inside. And where does this come from? I want you to consider for a minute that you are actually experiencing a form of PTSD. Now, before you shut this down, just hear me out for 1 second here. Let's talk about PTSD. Let's focus on this for 1 second here. When we think of PTSD as a society, the stereotypical form, the image that forms in our head is the war veteran. The war veteran, he went to the war, he had some horrific experiences, now he's back in his homeland, and he's in his homeland trying to live a normal life, and he hears, for example, a loud noise, and it sends him into a flashback of the horrific experiences that he experienced in the war. And when he experiences this flashback, he experiences those physical symptoms again. His mood is completely disturbed. He's angry, he can't concentrate, he wants to isolate himself away from others, he has the nightmares. This is what we collectively think of as PTSD, and we're very accepting, we're very gentle with our veterans. Like, really, like, poor guy, he's been through a lot, we got to take care of him. He's got some serious PTSD from the war. And to connect the dots for you, you're not flashing back to the war, you're flashing back to what I call a social flashback. You're flashing back to overwhelming experiences when you were put on the spot and you couldn't escape. For example, you were put on the spot by your teachers to read in front of the class, called up to the front of the class to perform something in front of the class, and it's the same feeling. You were trapped. You couldn't escape. It was humiliating. It was embarrassing. It could be performance related. It could be your coaches or your parents screaming at you and humiliating you, giving you that horrific experience when you were the center of attention. And unfortunately, we don't have the same level of acceptance as we do with our war veterans. Think about it. The social flashback, when you're going around the room, for example, in a work meeting, and you're starting to get that debilitating panic inside, and you can't even speak in front of people, mind's going blank, heart's racing because you're flashing back to this old experience you had when you were the center of attention. The social flashback has derailed more careers than you could ever imagine. And unfortunately, society is not going to treat you with the same level of acceptance as our war veterans. So for example, your coworkers, your boss, your family, and your friends, when you try to open up about this, they won't really be able to grasp it. They won't be able to understand it. Or they might say things like, well, you don't really look that nervous from the outside. Or they might think that you lack confidence or you seem a little nervous, but they have no idea what you're dealing with on the inside, the inner turmoil, the feeling like you're dying on the inside. It's not just a little bit of nervousness. And if you continue to try to open up about this to people who just don't get it, you're gonna feel crazy. And I want to tell you, you're not crazy. You are experiencing a social flashback. And so how do you start approaching this to overcome this issue? And essentially, you can hit this from two different angles here. You can hit it from the side of the actual PTSD. Remember, the PTSD, the old memories, the unresolved feelings of humiliation, embarrassment, and overwhelm. And you can also hit it from this side on the functionality side of things, which means exposing yourself or trying to do that thing that is bringing up the old feeling. So being put on the spot intentionally, getting repetition. So this thought that repetition is the mother of all skill. Why do people say that? Is because if you can get a certain amount of repetitions, the hope is that you will see, your body will eventually feel safe, that it's not going to be a humiliating and embarrassing and overwhelming experience. That is the hope. But remember, we're talking about PTSD here. And I want you to be very, very careful here with this line of thinking. Because ultimately there is a threshold of how nervous, how anxious you can get before that becomes yet another traumatizing experience that is going to be added to your memory bank of traumatizing experiences where you were the center of attention. Okay, so there's always gonna be a two-way bridge between those old unresolved feelings and your current functionality. What makes up the bridge is your nervous system, your fight or flight system, how nervous you get, how anxious you get, the symptoms, the level of symptoms that you experience, which ultimately influences your ability to be functional. And so how do you know you've passed that threshold between re-traumatizing yourself and making things worse as opposed to resolving these old feelings by performing that function? And this is exactly it. You have to ultimately perform that function. Ultimately, maybe it's public speaking or being put on the spot intentionally to get an idea of how intense these feelings are. You will get a sense very quick. So what I would suggest to you, maybe you already know. Maybe you already know that every time you have a work meeting, you get put on the spot, you got to speak. This is so overwhelming. You know, it's not just nervousness. It's not just a confidence problem. My body is completely being taken over and I'm losing control. You already have your answer. But let's say it's only happened a couple times at work, you're still trying to figure this out, is you can go to Toastmasters, for example, and they have an impromptu section where they will actually have an exercise where they're putting people on the spot and asking questions and getting you to think on your feet. But the thing is, it's a very gentle environment. Don't think it's a bunch of monsters in there. People are gonna laugh at you and humiliate you. They're very, very encouraging. And at least in this safer environment, you will get a chance to get exposure to what's being brought up within you in terms of those unresolved feelings. So Toastmasters is something that you can check out. Another thing is you can go to a improv class where you're kind of thinking on your feet and you're put on the spot and you're having exercises in a nice, fun, not low pressure environment. That is really the key, low pressure. And you will get a sense very quickly the level of intensity of these unresolved feelings. So as you do the volume, you get the repetitions in, is the level of intensity going down? Are you getting more confident? Are you getting more comfortable? Are you becoming more at ease? Or in my case, for example, is it getting worse? Is the mind blanking continuing to happen, the racing heart? Is it continuing to be a humiliating and embarrassing experience? Me, myself, I was in and out of 4 different Toastmasters clubs, in and out of improv classes, because there was just something much deeper going on underneath the surface. But in any case, if you're not sure, start with the functionality. Start performing the function that you need to perform to see what's hanging out here in the background. Now, if that is not moving the needle, you're finding that it's something much deeper, you're gonna wanna turn your attention over here to the PTSD itself, the old memories and the unresolved feelings of humiliation, embarrassment, and overwhelm. And you're gonna wanna work on getting in touch again with these old experiences and really processing through those old feelings so that they can get processed through and they can get neutralized. Because remember, when they are neutralized, that old experience, when it crosses the bridge of your nervous system, it's not going to affect your functionality. Your nervousness won't be so high. Your anxiousness won't be so high. The level of symptoms that you experience won't be so overwhelming, and you will be more functional. And what is the end result here? I want to bring this all home, because think about it this way. Over here, you have these horrible experiences of being the center of attention. And now when you try to be the center of attention in your adult life, it continues to be humiliating, embarrassing, that feeling of being trapped, and you just can't escape that dread that continues to flood you. So you keep stacking on these bad experiences. But if you can work on the feelings and get these resolved and neutralized and make it so you don't get so anxious, you're more functional, and it leads you to having good experiences when you are the center of attention. It leads to connection, speaking powerfully, having fun, being confident, being expressive, having good reactions from the crowd or the audience you're speaking to, having them laugh, having them feel connected to you, having them just look at you and listen to you because they're so interested in what you're saying. You're going to keep stacking this side of the good experiences, the positive experiences. And eventually, these are going to outweigh the traumatic ones. And when these outweigh the traumatic ones, you're going to have that confidence that even if you get put on the spot to speak, these positive experiences are going to be so energized and at the front of your mind that these old past experiences are no longer going to have power over you. And if you need more help with this, so you've been trying the Toastmasters, the improv, you've been trying to outfunction those old unresolved feelings and they're just not getting resolved, then come join our Facebook group. In this group, there's free resources, there's live trainings, I do live Q&As and coaching and answer your questions. And I know also how hard it is to connect with other guys who understand the turmoil that comes with experiencing these social flashbacks. So I just want to let you know, I get it, we get it, so let's all support each other. The link for that is below the video. And if you found the video helpful, please like and subscribe. Here's some other videos that you can check out next, and I will see you soon. Peace out.